In June last year, I saw your presentation at MIDEM, the impact of COVID-19 on music, with the focus on consumer search for the new. And with the hit of the pandemic, I believe it's very important for brands to understand how their consumers' music consumption and audio streaming behavior has shifted, so they can adopt the change into their audio branding strategies. So walk us through the key findings from your presentation.
So yes, you're right. I spoke at MIDEM virtually, obviously, as all conferences are now. And MIDEM is at the beginning of June. So we were about, two and a bit months into the pandemic. And one of the first things that we did at MRC when the pandemic started at the end of March was immediately start doing some research, because that's what we do. So we put a survey into fields in the US, and we called it the Impact of COVID-19. So we wanted to understand, how are consumers reacting to this complete shift in their life, basically. And we then switched from it just being one survey into a tracker. So we started asking these questions, and then we did so on a very frequent basis. So we asked every 2 weeks for the first couple of months, and then a little less frequently. And this year, we will be doing another 4 waves of that tracker once a quarter. So we can really start to trend how consumers' behaviors have changed. So back at the beginning of June, I was indeed talking about the search for the new. And that's really because as the world locked down and as everyone was confined to their homes and everything stopped, normal life stopped, we saw immediate change in people's behaviors, obviously. There was, in the first couple of weeks, there was a real focus on watching the news and watching a lot of television, sitting in front of that screen almost, 24/7, trying to figure out what's going on, what's going to happen, what does this mean? And then as time progressed and people got bored of being in front of the screen, they were constantly searching for something new to do. And actually, what we saw was as we did these waves, where people were switching up their behaviors. So initially it was watching television, then it was almost trying to stay away from digital and discover things like baking and cooking like big meals and making sourdough. I don't know how many of these you did, Jasmine, but
not really.
Did you make your own sourdough?
No.
Neither did I, actually, but a lot of people really went into their kitchens, but also like crafting, DIY. A lot of people in those pleasant weather spring months did a lot of work around the house, all those jobs that people have been putting off, but people were constantly switching and changing and looking for that new thing. And one of the other things that we saw a lot of, and have continued to see a significant amount of, is the adoption of streaming services. So people signing up for free trials and then continuing to use different types of streaming services. So on the film and TV side, that's seen the biggest increase. Netflix, Disney Plus launched in the spring of 2020, which is probably the most perfect time, as everyone was suddenly stuck at home, and here are all the Disney movies that you and your children might want to watch. So they've had a fantastic year. We also saw a nice increase in music subscriptions, and obviously that's where I focus my time, on the music industry. So seeing people exploring that new thing, discovering a new service, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and then also going on to discover new music via their new streaming subscription.
So you would say, like, overall what they're searching for, it's not just like the new thing, but it's also like they need to be entertained. So the entire entertainment industry has suddenly become even more important, because before we sought out to be entertained. Yes. And now when you're stuck, you have this hyper need of doing things and being entertained. And how do you do it? And then thank God we have digital
yeah, absolutely
today.
Yes, it was all about the digital entertainment. So yes, it became even more important. And yeah, it was a search for new, search for entertainment, and search for, you know, shifting things up all the time. So it wasn't necessarily new things completely, but it was just new to you. Yeah. So a lot of that older generation that weren't so digitally savvy, engaged, were suddenly like, okay, now I've got some downtime. Maybe now's the time where I will discover this new thing called streaming.